being around you guys so much, all you got, even when you win, you're always like, if. It's like, you guys live in if so much.
Oh, no doubt. That's all of gambling, right? IF, right at the top of the I. Big I, big fucking F.
So to me, going in, try and get rid of one of the ifs. Put some money on the fucking chalk in these box scenarios. You're not being a chalk-eating pig. You'll throw balloons on the top, but don't fuck yourself before you begin.
Can you win in life when you're trying to protect your ass? That's really the question that you're asking yourself. See, the Derby is not really about a horse race. It's about life in general. It's about looking in the mirror and asking yourself, what kind of balls do you really have?
The Derby's not a horse race.
It's self-assessment time, people. It's coming up on Saturday.
It's about life.
6:30. See what kind of person you really are. Do you have the balls to leave out the chalk?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here at the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, one Mike Lubitz. And wow, I mean, as we often say, I love the smell of panic in the morning, and they're panicking in New York City. Not so much over the Rangers. They feel pretty comfortable there. They figure they just got beaten in a game by a very good team. Carolina still not nervous, up 3-1 in their series in the NHL. Looks like they're going to go to the Eastern Conference Final. And if they do, there's a very strong likelihood, Louie, strong likelihood that they meet your Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
Up 3-1 on the Boston Bruins, playing great. They annihilated the Bruins 2 straight games, came back from, I don't know that they were in a grave. I don't know. What did the Bruins do yesterday? Did they pack it in after that first period and just play conservatively? I don't know that I can pinpoint the reason why Boston ended up losing that game, except for the fact that the Panthers are out hustling the Boston Bruins.
That's the thing. What was annoying about that game is, and people will tell you this with soccer, we make fun of soccer a lot. Yeah. And they're like, the activity was crazy. And you're like, it's 0-0. But then a lot of the time you'll see that catch up with teams. The one team that was aggressively shooting at the net eventually catches up. Like the Panthers were out shooting the Boston Bruins like 2-1.
They have been. I mean, in the last couple of games, it's been ridiculous. Bruins can't get a shot.
The Bruins were up 2-0, and again, both goals were bullshit. Both goals were Bobrovsky just fucking being Bobrovsky. It was like he was stopping stuff from. He was on his ass. The puck's there. He's using his blade, and it's like, but then the pucks come right at him, and he's like, what? So it was like, okay, like if they just keep this activity, you think they're going to catch up. Now the one goal was probably bullshit. They went into the third period, and the announcers were like, I'm still trying to figure that shit out. He's like, I got the rule book out. By rule, if they're not going to call that a cross check or a penalty because of how he hit him, then they can't take the goal off. So that made sense as to why they ruled how they ruled. But even the biggest Panther fan can admit he knocked the dude into the goalie. It took the goalie out, and then he had a clean shot at the goal.
How there was no call there is beyond comprehension. Now you see guys get away with a lot of stuff around the goal crease, and there's always pushing and shoving. So I don't know about the cross-check, although it was blatant. But when a guy shoves a guy into the goaltender and you're an official and you're standing right there and you don't blow the whistle, and they should be aware of the fact that if they don't blow the whistle and call the cross-check, that they can't disallow the goal.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing is, so that tied
which is weird anyway, right? Because anybody can make a mistake, but you would think the point of reviewing all scoring plays is to get them right.
Yes. Again, as a Panther fan, I'm not upset about how that call went. I did expect them to take it off. They didn't. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll take it.
After I watched it for the 100th time, I was just as convinced as I was the second time. That this guy was clearly impeded by the fact that, who was it? Shepard pushed the guy right into him and knocked him. It kept him from coming back to the other side of the net. And that's exactly where Shepard scored the goal.
No, it was Bennett.
Or whoever scored the goal. Yeah.
It was Bennett. It was Sam Bennett.
I kept thinking.
The NHL Network had him on, and or TNT, and I saw a clip on TikTok where they were grilling him for 5 minutes, and he had answers to everything. I give him credit. They're like, yeah, you should be a fucking lawyer. And I was saying, like, good for him. He didn't convince me of anything, but okay, like I'll take it.
Well, look, there are borderline calls that are made and not made in the NHL, and let's face it, the level of physicality far exceeds. It's exponentially more intense than anything that we're seeing in the NBA, and people are arguing about calls there. But you could clearly see that when he shoved the player into the goaltender, that it kept him from getting back to the other side of the net. And it was questionable whether he would have made the stop, but at least he would have had a chance.
Well, that was annoying because I actually agree. There's no way he would have made the stop.
Yeah.
But it was like, fuck, man. If just you don't need it. You didn't even need the guy was actually going to help you. It was going to be much like that goal that Ekblad helped in game 1 or game 2, where he literally helped shield Bobrovsky. Like the guy would have actually shielded the goalie, and you would have had a clean shot.
Yes.
So why push him? Like that was my problem.
Because that's what they do. It's the NHL.
Yeah, you just shove guys to shove guys. So it was like, well, I'll take it. And then the Bobrovsky, the Barkov goal was fucking nuts. Like it wasn't like he did a pirouette in between 3 dudes.
Yeah, he's playing great. Unbelievable.
So okay, and look, they brought the pressure pretty much the entire game.
Remember when we thought Barkov was like a semi-bust?
Well, he's not a bust.
Was that a mistake?
He's so fucked around in the playoffs. Like he and Hoobie Dooby Doo.
Ekblad, yeah.
And Ekblad was always hurt. That was Ekblad's fucking thing. Hoobie Dooby Doo and Barkov would have these great years, show all this talent, and then they would do nothing in the playoffs.
Fold in the postseason.
Fuck, man. And I don't know, Kachuk just woke them up in this team. Look, the fourth line is the one that's kicking ass half the time. Like they're like, wow, that was amazing. That was the fourth line. I'm like, oh shit.
Very, very pivotal game 4, though. You would have to admit. I
Yes.
mean, goes the Bruins' way. All of a sudden, it's 2-2, and they're emboldened and heartened by the fact that they're back in the series, even though they didn't play great. I mean, they played terrible in games 2 and 3. Just got trounced after having a brilliant game 1 from the middle of the second period on, and you thought, wow, it's game on, dude. Here, I don't know that it's over, but nonetheless, very commanding position. And the Panthers do look good in accomplishing this 3-1 lead. For sure. But, yeah, that's one thing. And then, we started out talking about the NBA a little bit. The other NHL series, all spectacular stuff. Sort of in the distance there for some reason because basketball tends to get far more coverage than the NHL. But you do have 3-1 Florida over Boston. Vancouver goes up 2-1 on Edmonton. The Rangers have a chance to close out their series tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. They're up 3-1 in the series, and the Stars are up 2-1 on the Avalanche. Now, I think the Knicks thought that they were going to have somewhat of a magic carpet ride by the Pacers after the referees gave them. Did they hire Harvey Dock, that referee that was trying to rob Ryan Garcia in the Devin Haney fight? Did they hire him as the head of officials in the NBA to make sure that the Knicks move on to the next? How are they going to rig this game, Lubie? That's the question. When is that? Tomorrow night?
Yeah, they'll let Josh Hart go back to tackling people, and they'll send Jalen Brunson to the line 16 times. If you notice, in Indiana, he fell all over the place, and the refs were like, I don't give a fuck. And they kept playing. And Brunson was marginalized. He had fine games. He was a good player. He wasn't fucking Michael Jordan.
No.
Like I've been saying, his game is predicated on flopping, getting to the line, and that wakes him up in the second half, and he puts up points. And on top of that, the defenders are scared to defend him because anytime they do anything, it's a fucking foul. If you notice in Indiana, that's not what was happening. They were playing him very physical, like they play everyone.
Brunson could have been hit by a car at midcourt, and they weren't calling that.
And they weren't calling for it. But that's fine. But that's how they let the Knicks play defense. And the Knicks weren't getting any goddamn fouls. And they were just officiating it very differently, and I presume they will in game 5 too. I'm sure they'll go back to Brunson will go to the line 22 times, and Josh Hart will be able to go over the back of guys that are 7 feet tall, magically getting offensive rebounds, and that's hustle and grit. Nothing illegal happening there. But whatever. In Indiana, it was nice to see them call the game evenly, and you saw the Pacers won a tight game 3 and beat the living shit out of the Knicks in game 4.
Doesn't Tom Thibodeau look like a guy on Let's Eat South Florida who just finished scrutinizing a check that was laced with errors? Automatic gratuities that weren't announced, upcharges for water.
He like squints.
He just looks like he's in fucking pain, doesn't he? At all times. This is after using Marquis de Sade techniques on his players there, which he's now down to like 4 players that are capable of going out there and giving him a game. So we'll see what happens. He's playing all these guys 48 minutes. You had to think that after that close game, I don't know that I anticipated a blowout. I did figure Indiana was probably going to win this one with maybe a slightly impaired Brunson. DiVincenzo, there's no way, even though he's been a good story this year, there's no way that Dante DiVincenzo, Mr. Ragu himself, is going for 35 in the fashion that he did in game 3 when they came back out and played game number 4. I would have given Rick Smits a better chance of having 35 in a game than Dante DiVincenzo, who's been very good. I mean, he's been a spark. He's been a catalyst. I know you don't like him. You seem to have an agenda against the whole Villanova trio there, Louie, because you hate Josh Hart. You're not a fan of Brunson, and you think DiVincenzo is a piece of shit.
I hate the flopping. I hate flopping. Like, even since Vlade, like, to me, I was taught and I teach it happens in Little League now. Like, you see little kids fly. It's like, okay, someone had to teach them that shit. Like, where the fuck? And I would never teach a kid to do it. I've never done it. I was always little and people would run me over and I was standing there. I'm like, I don't give a fuck that you ran me over. Like,
I'm not athletic enough to do the flop.
That's probably true. And
I'd probably hit my head on the wood and that would be the end of me. I'd be like Novak Djokovic was yesterday after getting hit in the head with a bottle of water. Unbelievable. That was crazy.
Of athleticism that maybe I don't have either. But to me, I was taught you play the game. Just play the game. And these guys, the Villanova guys especially, flop a lot on both sides of the court. And it's like, dude, just play the game. Because you saw
Brunson actually has that as part of his move. Like, he takes two dribbles and then he does one of these, even if there's nobody near him. He gives it the old Ali, where Ali used to try to dodge punches by pulling his head back, and everybody would be screaming. The fight doctor would be, "Don't do that, Muhammad! Come on, you're gonna get nailed."
You're like, don't do it.
But it's part of it's an automatic part of his repertoire of moves. That somewhere in the middle of it, he just does one of those feigned flops, like he got hit in the jaw by Jerry Quarry. I mean, it's unbelievable how they've ingrained this into these players, and how the refs keep going for it is beyond comprehension.
I hate it so much.
Yeah,
and they're bad. Like, I take it too far. I've never said
you hate the Knicks, though. I mean, you really do.
I despise them. Yeah, but I'll give teams credit where it's due. It's just they were getting a lot of breaks because of injuries, and now they're injured. And my friends are like, if only we were healthy. And I've left them alone. But I wanted to say, weird.
Yeah, they wouldn't have got by Philadelphia. Yeah, if Embiid wasn't hurt.
Exactly, and he would probably have beaten the Sixers, or if they had lost to the Sixers, at least had a series versus Celtics and not getting steamrolled. If they had Butler and Rozier, thank you. That's been my point. So
yes,
like
you were absolutely on it, though. I mean, you had to be just reveling in the idea that the Celtics were losing that game to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which that really came out of nowhere, and we suspected there was some kind of a fix in there because how ironic, how odd is it, how coincidental is it that both times game 2 of a series that they were probably going to win 4 games to nothing or 4 games to 1, game 2 at home, both times they've fallen completely apart, huh?
Yeah.
Do you smell the Winter Hill gang somehow having a presence there at the TD Garden? Possibly so. But anyway, very exciting day yesterday, all the way around. A lot of good stuff happening. So the Knicks, that'll be tomorrow night. You do have the Panthers and the Boston Bruins. That'll also be tomorrow night, I believe, here in South Florida. A chance to wrap it up. A lot of people would say, hey, well, it's no big deal. They lost that game 4 because most would want to see them celebrate this thing on their home ice. I say every game is pivotal. Get it over with as quickly as you can. You want to have finality. I don't care if you're down. I always felt this way. I could be down whatever margin, 11 game to 11, down 10-0. I'm figuring, okay, get a few points here, come back, see if you can get one stop, maybe get 4 more. You can get yourself right back into this thing. Maybe not win, but certainly make the guy nervous, right? You're down 5 love 40 in a tennis match. Okay, get this point and then see what you can do from there. So no certainty that it's over, especially in the NHL. I mean, that is a Wild West organization, the National Hockey League, and anything can happen there. So I don't know if the Bruins can muster up the ability to win on Florida's home ice, but they did have a decent effort there. They won game 1 and then got clobbered in the next couple of games. So that was kind of weird. What about Nuggets Timberwolves, Louie? I was convinced after the first 2 games that the Timberwolves were going to take this series sort of in relatively easy fashion and shake up the world a little bit. And Denver, I don't know what they did to rally, but 2 completely different ball games in Minnesota from what we saw, including the blowout in game number 2, where the Timberwolves just devastated the Denver Nuggets and made you think that the Nuggets were clearly finished for the season. They come back now, and you would have to think that if you were going to bet on this thing, that the Nuggets would be heavily favored to take 2 out of 3, with 2 out of 3 on the home wood. But big surprise there that they were able to rally like that in those 2 games in Minnesota. Oh, yeah. Isn't that weird that the big highlight of going to those games, and I forgot about this, but, I kind of remembered when they played that Wolf sound I thought, well, maybe that was to signify that it was time for the Timberwolves to rally, but they play that wolf sound in the arena there in Minnesota whenever an opponent goes to the free throw line, because if he misses both, whoever it is, I think everybody in attendance gets a coupon for a free walleye popsicle or some bullshit that you would never want if you were living in Minnesota. But nonetheless, I guess however many people are in the stands there, your ticket becomes a coupon, and it's good. Now this happens in a lot of places. But I know that was the premise behind it, that if the opposition missed 2 free throws at any attempt at the line, that these coupons became valid. And so they trigger that by playing that. But they may as well have just been the fat kid in right field playing a vuvuzela, because it was just as annoying to have them doing that while losing again to the Denver Nuggets, this time being relatively easily handled. And where does that leave you? I mean, is Denver, they do appear to be, I don't know that this isn't a total cliche, but they're back on track after those 2 games. And if you didn't see the first 2 games, you would have to think that this was going to be easy pickings for them the rest of the way, maybe even Denver in 6. But where does that leave you? Because Oklahoma City also ran into a little bit of a glitch, as Oklahoma City ended up losing one of their home games, and OKC now finds themselves in a real spot against the Mavericks, down 2-1.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That game's tonight. Mavericks only slight favorites, 1.5 at home.
When last we left it was like, dang, can the Nuggets at least win a game? I figured they'd win a game because defending champions, this and that, they'd wake up, they win a game. But it felt all but done. Not only that the T-Wolves had won, but they had won decisively both games. Yeah. So it was like, I guess the T-Wolves are just that good, and they're ready to be on the scene. And then it was a total reversal of form. Murray woke up. Aaron Gordon was fantastic. Jokic looked like Jokic for the first time in this series. And the funny thing is, and you talk about the curse, we always talk about the curse of Rachel Nichols. So Mike Mayo.
Was she interviewing Karl Anthony Towns or something?
I think it was on Instagrams or something, but it wasn't Towns. There was a picture of her sitting down with like
not Anthony Edwards. Oh no.
It was Friday. So we went back and forth on this. I'm like, oh, they're done. And you said something, but I guess you didn't see what it was to, but you just went along with it. Yeah. And it was like,
I knew it was an allusion to the curse of Rachel Nichols.
It's over. The funny thing is,
but Mayo has a fondness for Rachel Nichols. He refuses to admit to the curse.
No, he sort of jokes about it. He just likes her as a human. They're friends, but it didn't. Anthony Edwards played well, so it didn't stop him. It just ruined his team.
Yeah, the rest of the guys came up pretty lame, you would have to say. Wasn't Karl Anthony Towns like over 7 early in the game? This guy had been shooting great. He'd been making faces to the crowd. He was sinking threes to start the ball game, 3-4 in a row. Looked terrific. That was a serious reversal of form. It wasn't even like the Nuggets got lucky and won a game, and then somehow they eked out another one. I mean, they found a way to, as they say, stick their foot in the ground there and plant one on the Timberwolves after just being handled. Ugliness. It looked like they weren't even engaged in game number 2, and then they come back. They win games 3 and 4. So that series, made a significant change. And I'm not sure what to make of the Mavs and the Thunder. I was ready to embrace the Thunder as being the real deal, Lubie, and then they lose 2 in a row, and they were handled relatively easily in this last game. 1.5. You're only laying 1.5 with the Mavericks in this one. What do you think? I mean, is there some injury report that I missed? Is somebody out? Doncic? Is Kyrie Irving hurt? Kyrie Irving's playing great, by the way. You don't notice him because he's not making bizarre statements, but nonetheless, I mean, he's been playing terrific basketball, especially lighting it up in the clutch in the fourth quarter, when you would imagine that Doncic is getting all kinds of attention. I don't know how Luka Doncic does it. Very much like Jokic. Yes. Doesn't look like he's moving out there, does it? Looks like he's not just a step slow, but like a yard slower than everybody else. He is 6'7". You have to keep that in mind. They keep reminding us of that. Does get away with some shit. I don't know that that's the Euro step. What's the step beyond the Euro step?
I don't know.
It's called a blatant travel. That's what it is.
What should be a travel?
I think Doncic probably changes pivot feet as much as anybody, but nonetheless, I mean, that was somewhat of a surprise that the Mavericks were able to rally. Yeah, people forget that the Mavericks were red hot at the end of the regular season.
Yes.
Red hot. And playing some great basketball.
Irving and Doncic have figured it out.
Yeah.
How to play with each other. The other guys are definitely helping out. I just still thought the Thunder after game one would just run through them. We've seen them come sort of back to earth, and we've seen the Mavs sort of just keep going. And now Luka looks like he's hurt, and he's playing a little affected. So we'll see if that eventually catches up with them, because the Thunder don't look hurt at all. They looked young and out of sorts the last couple games. I think that will be a long series. I think that will be a good series. I don't know what happened to the Thunder. It was weird to me to watch them play like that. They looked a step behind the Mavs, which that's the one thing they had. Like game one was actually closer than the score says for the first half. Like it was a close game. I went to bed, I woke up, and the Thunder kicked their ass. And it felt like the Mavs took something from that. And we're like, okay, let's just keep it close. And eventually we can pull away. And that's what the last two games were. The Mavs sort of let their experience dictate the action, and the Thunder were they felt lost in a way we haven't seen them in these playoffs. Like both the T-Wolves and the Thunder the last couple games, it looked like the young teams people thought they may be that we haven't seen so far.
It's like they woke up, looked in the mirror, and said, "Jesus, we're too young to be doing this."
Yeah, it's like they finally were like, "Oh fuck,
what the fuck?" You would think youth would be, associated with daring and just no nerves whatsoever, right? The bravado of today's youth, you would think would lean more towards an approach of, "Hey, we're invincible." Not one where they're going to go into a shell and end up losing games to a team that looks like it's a step slow. But nonetheless, that's where they're at. They're down 2-1 in a pivotal game 4 coming up tonight. The Mavericks and the Thunder. Whenever I start just to embrace a team like Minnesota or the Thunder,
yep,
go out there and literally they lay that rodent-sized egg. Some giant fucking bird just drops one on your head like you were Novak Djokovic. Unbelievable. So the Joker, I don't know, where did this bottle come from? Was he walking to the arena? It didn't happen in the arena, did it?
I heard after, and supposedly he said something funny about it. And
he said he was okay, and then he wasn't okay.
Then he sucked. I mean, the way, if you're saying he lost in straight sets to some random guy.
Badly, too. A very uncharacteristic joke. Yeah, he double faulted on the final point. This doesn't happen to Djokovic.
Something's wrong with him.
Yeah.
So that sucks. And that's like, especially you don't see that in tennis. Like tennis and golf are the two you usually see good behavior from the fans.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that, especially in Italy. Like they're not like, it's not New York City.
No, if this happened at the U.S. Open, you'd figure it was a matter of routine. You're surprised that a fucking hot dog didn't follow it. And he was unconscious on the ground, experiencing immediate CTE implications, and then was splattered with mustard all over his Lacoste shirt, whatever that is that he wears.
Yeah.
But you can't help. You may despise Djokovic or whatever. You root for him to lose. That's possible. But you can't help but admire what this guy has done. I mean, it's been unbelievable. And to see him, I mean, literally, you talk about relegated to being ordinary without, he wasn't grabbing for his calf muscle, or you didn't see him roll an ankle and then he was just gutting it out because he didn't want to retire. I mean, this guy just got slaughtered by an unknown, a relative unknown. I never heard of this guy, Alejandro Tabilo, and knocks off Joker easily in straight sets in like an hour's time. Also, you never see that, and so that was kind of weird. And then Rory McIlroy, he was trailing by a couple of shots after 7 holes, as Schauffele had gone ahead and taken a 2-shot lead with an eagle on number 7 yesterday. I think, what is that, the Heritage Classic they were playing? Not sure what the name of the tournament was, but nonetheless, it was the tournament that precedes. Is it good to win the tournament preceding a major, Lubie? Rory McIlroy, that'll be all the focus of attention. He hasn't won a major since 2014, and I think the PGA was his last one. Yeah, 10 years without a major. That's essentially 40 straight starts.
Holy crap.
Without winning a major. Can he do it? I mean, he looked great in this stretch. He double bogeyed 18. Which he had enough of a cushion there that it didn't matter. I mean, he could have 8-putted 18 and still won the tournament. But and he really pulled away in the final few holes. All of a sudden, he caught fire. I was sort of intermittently watching this thing, and his lead kept expanding. But is it good? Is that a springboard for Rory McIlroy, that he wins a tournament just prior to the PGA? Or do you automatically in golf go to the bounce theory and figure, unless you're Scotty Scheffler, you're not winning 2 in a row?
I don't know if he's going to win, but I think it's good for him. If he hasn't won a major in fucking 10 years, I know he's won tournaments here and there, but I forgot about him. So it's good for him to be back in that consciousness. You would think confidence couldn't have been sky high. So
He's knocked on the door many times. Like you said, he's sprinkled in a win here and there. I think he now has 26 tournament victories, which is certainly no small accomplishment. But can he do it? PGA tournament coming up, and where do you leave the live players? Because your man, Brooks Koepka, right now is razor sharp on the live tour, but I'm not sure what that amounts to. We have no idea. I've yet to see a complete round of live tour golf televised anywhere. Have you?
No, I don't even hear them talk about it. The fact that you know something well, good for you.
How do you even know that it's going on? I just happen to see accounts that Koepka's won like 4 times or something on the live tour this year, including their most recent tournament, but they only play like every other leap year.
Yeah, exactly.
Not great. You get like $200 million guaranteed. You're Phil Mickelson. You're finished. You're washed up. You're not going to win another tournament no matter where you play, even if you went to the senior tour. And they give you $200 million just to hang out there, be in 14 events, 3 rounds, play 42 rounds of golf if you play every tournament. That's a nice deal, huh? It's almost as good as the Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy thing, where they get $100 million and $50 million, respectively, for not being on the tour at all and doing nothing.
Exactly.
At least McIlroy is still like an effective player that is a factor in the leaderboard. But in Tiger Woods' case, his loyalty for $100 million. What do you think? Well, wouldn't that money have been better spent if they gave it to some schmank that was at the bottom of the tour that was trying to make it, build up some of these new young guys? Because you would have to believe that they desperately need to establish some new faces in golf, do they not? If the PGA Tour is going to prosper, who's out there that anybody's excited about? Nobody. It's German guy.
Well, that's the problem. Is you're saying like Scheffler is really good, but no one's excited about him.
Nobody cares about him because he has zero personality. Like
bored with
sub-zero personality. He may be the nicest guy in the world. He probably is a very generous and soulful human being who's, great with his family. But man, is he boring! Holy shit!
And he's like, not only do they get $200 million, they get free gas at Wawa.
Wawa, yeah, well. Pretty much anywhere, right? With the Saudis in control.
I was going to say, isn't that where we get our oil?
It's amazing the amount of money the Saudis have poured into trying to dominate America. When are they just going to buy like the NFL? That's coming, right? Raj is going to make the announcement. He'll be sitting there with the Monahan, the sellout guy that was in charge of the PGA, and saying, well, we've done it. We really think this is going to advance the game and be very beneficial for the fans. You will now be asked to wear a turban to all NFL games.
They'll separate men and women.
Black people, oh, no, they'll have their own bathroom. Don't worry. All right, we're going to take a little time out here. We'll come back with more. Lubie, very happy about the Cats win last night. You were all over that. And extremely pleased to see the Knicks on the ropes and the panic that's going on in New York City. What would be worse if Rudy Giuliani came back to be mayor of New York? Does he have any shot of getting elected?
I don't think he's running. I think he's running for his life.
Today's going to be a good one, though. I mean, the Michael Cohen testimony and the big hush money trial. We all know what happened there. I mean, come on.
I forget it.
Seems pretty clear what went on.
He's never going to prison. So I stopped paying attention to any of this.
My favorite thing about the whole, Michael Cohen-Trump dynamic is that Cohen actually was convicted of lying so he could protect Donald Trump. Because at that time he was still an ally and figured that Trump was, going to take care of him. Then he ends up going to prison and Trump abandons him. And now we can't wait to see Trump skewered, which is great. But nonetheless, the fact that they're going to pick on the idea that Cohen is such a liar and has no credibility was essentially based on the fact that he was lying for Trump to save his fucking fat ass. So, I mean, it seems like an odd thing to pick on, doesn't it, Lubie? Well, you know what? You can't believe this guy. He's the guy. The only reason he was telling all these lies and subjected himself to this type of punishment and consequence is because at that time he was protecting the Donalder. So that's great. You just not only turn your back on the guy, but then turn on him completely and use the very fact that he was loyal to you as the essence of your defense that you were not guilty in this case. I don't know. They got checks with Trump's signature on them. They got all kinds of shit there. What do you think? Could a jury convict this guy? I know they'll never send him to jail.
No, that's the problem. Is they're not going to send him to prison. I mean, no. I think he's already convicted. The trial, all you do is see them making fun of what the defense is trying to do. I mean, his lawyers are horrendous. He's lost any good lawyer he ever had because they're all scared that it'll come back on them.
Yeah.
the woman he has is just like an Instagram model. She's not a good lawyer at all. Habibi or Haba, whatever the fuck.
Oh no, she's not in on this case though. She
she's
was
not.
yeah, she was on whatever that the preliminary hearing stuff. Oh no, that was the defamation case. She was all over it. No, she's not. She's not defending him in this case, although she's still very much defending the honor and integrity of one Donald J. Trump. How great is this, man? I mean, these are our choices for president. One guy's on trial, for God's sake, after being president of the United States, a criminal trial in New York, and all they can do because he has, the judges in his pocket that he assigned, including this crazy woman here in South Florida in that federal case with the classified documents. All they can do is postpone this shit and hope that he wins the presidency. That's when you talk about desperation being the mother of invention. If he doesn't win, he's going to end up in a slammer somewhere.
Yes, if that's the thing is like it. I say he won't go to jail. He won't go to jail now.
No, not on this thing. I can't imagine.
But if he does lose and he's finally done, which is my fucking dream, then he finally may go to prison because there's nothing propping him up. But he's just not going to go on this stuff. Even though they have all the evidence they need, there's no one in the world that would say he didn't do the things that they're accusing him of. They're not going to put. I mean, he still is the nominee. Which
if you're going to have a Joe B in the White House, let it be Joe Beja, man. I mean, the way he runs Gulfstream Park. And the food and beverage, dealings there, unbelievable. Obviously, very efficient at managing things and realizing how to delegate authority properly and take advantage of what is a very smoothly run system. But Joe Biden, I mean, the guy looks like he's ready to pass out, doesn't he?
He's old, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was never a Biden fan. I couldn't stand the idea that Trump would be president.
Yeah,
and look what happened. I mean, there are people that still believe that was a good period of time.
No, was
nothing but chaos. I mean, came out of that, and then I mean, I don't know that everybody was going to be well equipped to handle a pandemic. That was something that was overwhelming, and
but he got rid of a lot of the stuff that initiated the pandemic, like all the stuff that Obama had done because Obama had faced two different things that could have become pandemics, and set up a fucking council, and they didn't affect America at all. I didn't even realize, like, when they were comparing COVID to these other things, I'm like, but they didn't do that. And people are like, yeah, they did everywhere else. They just didn't do it here because of Obama and Trump early in his office days. Because again, as
anything that Obama did, he wanted to get rid of
everything.
What merit
got rid of councils. He got rid of all these handbooks. He got rid of all these things that were systematic in handling things of this nature and would have quelched them early, which is what Obama did 2 or 3 times in his presidency. And that's what allowed COVID to become what the fuck it became. It still was probably going to be something, who knows? But
his understanding of it, though, I mean, you had to.
He didn't try. He didn't try to help.
You had to look at it and just find him incredibly intelligent when he was talking about gargling with Clorox. And looking at that doctor that had the scarves, whoever she was, I guess she was working with the presidential committee or whatever that he had assigned there. Fauci was an outcast.
Yes. Oh, the Bricks, Dr. Bricks or whatever the fuck her name was.
Whatever, yeah. And he looks over at her and says, well, why can't we just have everybody start drinking chlorine?
Yeah, remember the Clorox stuff? And he would always say it in front of
the
world. He would always say it live in like a press conference. I was like,
he'd look over and say, I'm just asking. It's like, because you're a fucking bozo. That's why.
Dumbass. Like, what?
Jesus Christ, man! When he was shooting the paper towels at the people in Puerto Rico after that.
I just love all the things he did. The fact that
like he was Butch Comives. I mean, come on.
My favorite is that he'll talk. Look, that's the thing about Biden. Look, he's old, senile. But like, no one has to interpret him. He says his shit. They leave him alone.
Right.
Trump talks, and then his whole team's like, what he really meant was, he's not speaking fucking Mandarin.
Like, when he said, grab him by the pussy,
I don't need
that was just a euphemism, a figure of speech. He was really saying, hold their hand and give them flowers.
No, he was saying, carpe diem, youth. Live for today.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't at all.
Oh, my God. When he comes out with that stone face out of court and talks about how victimized he's been.
Yeah,
it's like, please, man, you paid the woman the money. I mean, you went ahead and made all these arrangements. Well, you did it, Donald. I mean, is it the biggest crime in the world? I don't know. Are other people in your position probably guilty of far worse in terms of under-the-table payments? Yeah, that's possible, too. But the whole idea that this is some circus witch hunt organized by Joe Biden seems a little bit far-fetched there. And, I mean, if you're so, I don't know. I know this is not, your defense would be that they didn't prove anything, so why should I take the stand and defend myself? But Wouldn't you love to hear from this guy?
No,
On any of
they
these
put him on
questions?
the stand. That's the dumbest thing. You should never go on the stand.
No,
because
absolutely
Who are
not.
you?
I mean,
And they're allowed to ask you whatever the fuck they want, and you have to either answer, or if you're taking fifths, that just looks worse. So
yeah, he would be convicted in 1 second if he takes a stand, right? Because everybody knows he's full of shit.
he's a raving lunatic. Him taking the stand will be the worst.
It's not even up for debate, right? He still denies that he ever met Stormy Daniels. It's incredible,
Exactly.
right? Just like he was talking about the journalist who he defamed. Carol, was that her name? Not being his type, and then he's got a picture of her, and she looks just like Marla Maples, right? In fact, he even mistook her for Marla. Oh yeah, that's Marla. That's my Marla. Way to go, Donnie. All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with more here. Take you up until 9 o'clock today here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubie Lubitz. Where are you guys at with the mail lunchbox today? Are you on the room?
Renzo, this place called Renzo's.
Oh, yeah? Where's that at?
Boca Raton.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I don't know.
Oh, that sounds like a good
Whatever
one.
happened with your fucking, did you ever get the thing at least, the apparatus?
No, what happened, this is beautiful, right? I probably needed this thing a month ago, right? I have to say that if I didn't know that the Achilles was ruptured from the report that I saw, I wouldn't know there was anything wrong. I really wouldn't. Now I haven't tested it or anything, and one slip and that's it. You could
really
potentially stretch this thing, and then you're out of luck. Then you need the surgery, and you're on the shelf for at least 6 months after that. Which I mean, who wants to go to any kind of hospital situation for surgery anyway if you don't need it? So they told me that my primary care doctor had yet to submit a waiver that needs to be submitted so they can give me this brace. So in the meantime, I mean, my only other option is to wear this hideous boot that I have like 24 hours a day. And I just can't see myself doing that. So we'll see what happens. The problem that you have is that time is going by and you're wondering if you're not helping yourself because you're not letting this thing heal.
That's the dilemma that people keep saying is it's just going to stay this way.
Right, which I probably could live with. I mean, people live with all kinds of shit, right? You find out that people live with torn ACLs, torn meniscus, torn Achilles, all kinds of garbage. But, I mean, I haven't attempted to do anything with it in terms of stretching it. I have walked around more than I probably should. But I would say this, that I'm always optimistic. I'm thinking the doctor's going to tell me, hey, that's it. Don't worry about it anymore. Go back to doing what you were doing. So hopefully I'll get this brace this week, at least be able to get that assistance, and then kind of hoping that the thing clears up by the end of next week, which actually would be about 5 weeks away from when I actually hurt the thing. So the best case scenario with these things is maybe 4 to 6 weeks to heal up. But it had to be in sort of bad shape for the MRI, which took place 2 weeks after the injury to show like it did. So we'll see what happens, Louis. So to answer your question, no, nothing has been done. Nothing. So
you're staying off of it? Are you actually doing that? Like,
what's that?
Staying off of it? Like,
it's so boring. My life at this point. I did nothing, absolutely nothing over the weekend. I barely even went outside. I just stayed off of it for like 48 hours there.
Yeah. That's what they're saying you're supposed to do. But
yeah, I mean, if you're not walking around, it's probably a better alternative to walking around even with the boots. So we'll see what happens. But you have to do some minor stuff. I mean, just to get up and down the stairs.
No, you're gonna have to eat, but like you're supposed. I don't know about any of this stuff. Like I know Dickstein had it.
I mean, everybody's different. I have a tendency to heal up quickly and not suffer great severity. When injured, I usually have healed up pretty fast or gotten over it pretty quickly. This is an accumulation of years and years and years. It's not like I didn't have sensitive Achilles. I'm sure everybody has, right? I mean, do you wake up some days, Lubie, and that thing's a little sore back there? Or?
For sure.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be okay. But probably Renzo's, as much as I would like to go in there, probably off the circuit for today. And I'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll get this thing and make some progress and get over the whole thing within a couple of weeks. Yeah, that'll be good. All right, so we're going to come back with more. There's your medical update on the Def. I would imagine you'd be more interested in Anunoby's medical report with the New York Knicks if you're a Knicks fan. Do we not need to see, though, Knicks and Celtics? I mean, what happens? They always talk about this, and I love this reference. The network executives ready to choke down some cyanide if they get the wrong matchups. So they're probably very happy that Denver emerged in that Minnesota series and that the Dallas Mavericks are playing well because at least they get some star power there with the shots in the stands, and of the bench and Mark Cuban. But if you have Oklahoma City and Minnesota in the West, and somehow you ended up with the Pacers and the Cavaliers in the East,
Oh my God, they'd shoot themselves.
turn out the lights.
Well, when you had a chance at getting Denver, that's the funny thing is we think of them as small markets, but they're not. Denver is a big market.
Well, and plus they're exciting because they establish
Dallas is a big
themselves. They get the
market.
three-time MVP.
And Luka is widely considered one of the best players in the league. Yes,
That
and
would be a good
everyone knows
matchup,
both
Doncic and
guys.
Jokic.
And on the other one, I assumed it
Big
was
in Serbia,
Boston.
right? I mean, is Jokic Serbian? Are they both Serbian?
One of them is Serbian.
Djokovic, I mean, obviously being the number
I
one
don't think they're
Serb
both the
athlete.
same country. One of them is Serbian. One of them is from
I think
Iraq.
Jokic is Serbian, right? Isn't he always
Jokic,
palling around with Djokovic,
I think
the
is
tennis player?
Serbian. I don't think Doncic is. But I'll
Doncic
just
might be,
mention.
he might be something else, right? I'm not sure.
But especially in the East, when even I had a week ago said it's going to be Knicks and Celtics. I mean, it's an automatic.
I still think that's what's going to happen.
I think that'll happen, but I'm just saying, like, to go from assuming that was it to the two of the top, 6 markets in the country. And when it comes to basketball, 2 of the top, 3 or 4 markets in the country with fans all over the place to then go to
oh my God, a Cavaliers Pacers.
Pacers are going to win the series, but I can see
Yes.
the Pacers winning it at this point. The Pacers could 100% win the series at this point. You get Indiana, Boston. It's like,
And you thought Jokic was an ascetic Jew. The little payas or whatever those are.
He's Slovenian. Luka is Slovenian.
Slovenian, okay.
Yeah.
And Jokic is Serbian. We're right about that. At least get one country right.
Yeah, Jokic is Serbian.
Okay. All right. We're coming back with more here in a moment. I don't know. We're kind of meandering a little bit, but nonetheless. So you're going to be at Renzo's in Boca
Yes.
at 1 o'clock with the Mike Mayo lunchbox. Should I tap into that thing? I'd be more than happy to.
I don't know. We're going to have Renzo. I think we're going to have a chef on. You don't have to
okay.
jump into the
Food sounds good. Food sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you hear good things, and there are a lot of good spots there in Boca, but this sounds like it's one of them. All right. We're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:45. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep, to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Peel yourself off the Mount Monday here, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubie. Lubitz, very happy Mike Lubie. Lubitz seeing the Knicks in trouble and the Boston Celtics at least showing minor signs of being vulnerable. The Celtics are in action again tonight against the Cavaliers in Cleveland.
You get the shit out of him in game 3, which was annoying.
Well, it came back, the Celtics,
Yeah.
as you might have anticipated, but
Yeah.
favored by 8.5 tonight against the Cavaliers. Did the Cavaliers just tighten that up? I mean, are people making money on this postseason with the somewhat unpredictable wild swings that have taken place in terms of the action? Now, you would have felt robbed if you had the Indiana Pacers games 1 and 2.
Yep.
I believe the Pacers covered by 0.5 point in game 3. Did they not win that by 5 while favored by 4.5? I think that was the case. And that one came down to, once again, the wire. He was screaming for the wire. I think there was a 3-point chuck maybe at the buzzer that would have covered the point spread by the Knicks in that game. And then they come out and destroy them. I'm not sure. Do the Cavs have it in them to bounce back in this thing? That second game, was that just an aberration, Lubie, much like it was in the Heat series?
I don't know. Look, you saw the Celtics be a lot more aggressive. You saw Jason Tatum be much more involved.
Yeah.
Which is going to be tough for the Cavs to stop. But look, the thing for me, for the Cavs, it's how involved are Mobley and Garland. I mean, in game 2, we talked about this Friday, Mobley was highly involved. And it's a thing that we haven't seen these first 2 playoff runs for this young Cavs team. And in game 3, it was very different. Mobley didn't do shit. He couldn't hit the side of a fucking barn.
Yeah.
And Garland went back to being nothing. And the Celtics did whatever the fuck they wanted. Again, Derek White didn't do anything. And it wasn't the other guys. It was Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But we've seen teams beat them when those 2 guys play well. It's usually the other guys that beat them. The problem for the Cavs is it's their guys. Their guys don't contribute. Mitchell does. Mitchell plays every game. Mitchell plays well every game. The other guy,
he's been a dynamic leader, much like others have been for their teams in the postseason, and he hasn't melted away or thrown in the towel or had a subpar game. He's been brilliant throughout, but
needs help.
Just don't seem to have the firepower. What's the name of the center? The guy with the big fro that
was playing so well for them.
Yeah, he's a big factor, and he's been out, so that's not helping him any. Yeah, because you're also looking at offensive rebounding being a big key there, and the Celtics seem to have made up and done exactly what they did in the Heat series, and that is fell asleep for one game and then came back and found their stride. So that'll be interesting. This is a couple of other things. For Jim Sarney, I mean, I can't believe Sarney threw in the towel on his women's golf because his girl, Nelly Korda, who had won 5 straight tournaments that she had entered, was out of, or seemingly hopelessly out of position. She was like 10 shots back after 2 rounds. So I texted Sarney. He sent me something about some game he was watching, and I thought, wait a minute, Jim, how are you not watching women's golf? You're the most loyal fan that they have here outside of Korea. And sure enough, he said he had thrown in the towel because Korda couldn't do it. So her streak was snapped. But we talked about the Djokovic thing. That was really odd to see. And it's also getting very difficult. I love this guy, man. I love the way he played. But it's getting difficult to watch Rafael Nadal make all these early round exits.
Why is he playing?
I think, just kind of a farewell tour. Everybody handles it differently. And I think he really wants to go out in somewhat of a blaze of glory. You have to figure while the red clay season is in the place here. I mean, he's playing in Barcelona, Madrid, Italy. They have some great red clay tournaments leading up to the French Open, Roland Garros, which is in a couple of weeks. And so you figure, yeah, okay, get some work in, see if you can do it. He basically says that he's badly compromised and really doesn't feel right. But maybe this is where it ends, right? At the French Open, is it possible? But it's hard to watch Rafa making these second and third round exits from tournaments. He hasn't been horrible, but he hasn't been himself. So that's been kind of interesting. And we are seeing a nice young changing of the guard there. This I can't ignore, though, because reading any number of horror stories about the status of the Miami Marlins, who got a win yesterday, and it's funny to see. I mean, there's some loyal fans there. Our friend Jimmy Ross, a loyal fan. There's a guy that I always see on Facebook named Kai Jones, he goes by, who's always extolling the virtues of the local teams. And I appreciate that. I love people that are extremely loyal fans. But what a joke, huh? This is. What was this? Peter Bendix? Was he a bat boy with the Rays? Was that his last position? It's possible. Because he keeps talking. I saw an interview with him, and what can you possibly say except that this is an outright farce, what we're doing here, and that everybody is up for sale again. I mean, they're going to trade Luzardo. They're probably going to trade anybody that has any ability on this team before we get too much further into the season. To accomplish what?
That's worked so well for this organization. I love when they keep doing the same. It's like the Republican economic system. If you look at from the late 70s to now,
Yes.
every time our economy has fucking become a disaster was immediately during or after a Republican presidency, because they literally we know why. The trickle down helps the rich and says fuck the middle class and the poor.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
remember paying like money store rates by
Yes.
the standard of the day for my first home after the Ronald Reagan administration. My God, talk about a burial.
And every
Holy shit.
Republican presidency has either been or led to a recession, and every Democratic, good or bad, do whatever you want. These are numbers. These are this. Even the economists who lean conservative, who most economists do because they're economists, will tell you this: the economy booms during or after Democratic, because again, they don't just care about the rich. They enact policies, and it's not just a cyclical shit. It's actual fact now. They enact policies that help fucking everyone, not just the rich. That's literally.
Oh, we can't have that, Lubie.
Yeah, that's literally. So you keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Expect a fucking different result. The Marlins. Okay, let's do a fire sale again and build up the miners.
How can this be good?
Again, build up the miners. It hasn't worked once, guys. It hasn't fucking worked once. You have 4 different regimes that have tried this same goddamn thing. And it's like, okay, whatever. Just keep doing it.
One of the few players that you would actually consider paying to see would have been Louis Arise if you were a baseball fan.
Yes, he was. You could count on him.
Old school Ron Carew, Tony Gwynn type of hitter that you just don't see anymore. Somebody that's patient at the plate, has a great eye. He's going to take the ball wherever it's pitched, not afraid to go the opposite way. Maybe he doesn't have the greatest of power, but isn't going to strike out 100 times. I'm looking at some stats. Mushnick is all over this because he can't believe the strikeout ratios where it's all or nothing. And he was talking about some guy that has struck out like 35% of the time. And he's in the starting lineup.
Oh, yeah. He probably.
I guess, you could look at Schwarber as a leadoff hitter, for Christ's sake, batting under 200 for the season, hits like 50 home runs, and strikes out 200 times. Now, in Schwarber's case, I believe he walks a lot.
He does.
So,
he does walk. I think he does walk. He gets
so maybe, when you're looking at some abstract application of the permutations of stat lines, that factors in as something favorable for a leadoff hitter. But it ain't exactly like watching Lou Brock up there or Maury Wills or any of the great leadoff hitters that have been around, Ricky Henderson for years, where you had a prototype for that, which was a guy that was going to get on base, could slap the ball around, much like Louis Arise. Arise didn't have the speed to be a base-stealing threat. In fact, I think he was kind of a plodding runner that had very limited stolen. If he had 10 stolen bases, 9 of them came when he was on the back end of a double steal. Wasn't the fastest guy, but who else do they have that you would go out there and I mean, is Jazz Chisholm really an attraction except for the name and some of the flashiness he shows while playing a very mediocre level of baseball?
He's average. He's an average player. I mean, he is.
I mean, can you really get all excited about a 260 hitter with 20 home runs? Is that somebody that you're thinking, oh, my God, there's the future right there?
They don't even. That's the funny thing when they're like everyone's up for grabs. He's not a name anyone talks about. Like he fell off so quick. Like it's just fucking annoying. And that's what this organization is. Like
I mean, flash in the pan guys.
Gallen is a Cy Young candidate every year. Like
it's amazing. Yeah, the guys they deal. Pablo last year was a Cy Young candidate, although you can't really blame them for that trade because it did net them back a rise. It was kind of a straight-up deal. But this Bendix guy, you see him talking. I mean, he looks a little pale, doesn't he? This Peter Bendix?
He's a dumbass. This was not a team that needed to be blown up. It was the opposite. This was a team that had just been blown up. They finally figured something out. They were starting to build a rotation that had issues because of injuries, but had arms that if they ever got healthy could be interesting. Had an okay lineup that could get better. Now start drafting well. I don't know what the fuck to tell you, but you didn't have to do that.
Or make some appropriate and worthwhile trades, which Kim Eng did last year.
Keep Soler. He ended up getting not that much money. It was pretty easy. Keep the team intact. Make some fucking moves like Eng did and keep building. No, fuck it. We're just going to throw it all away. You don't even have guys that teams want. Like, what are you throwing away?
Yeah.
That's why
How many people are coveting AJ Puck as a starter?
Exactly. Like, look, and I like the Rise. Again, you're not wrong about a Rise. But the game he plays isn't a game that's going to get you a haul. He's not, and he's not young. He's not old. He's like in the middle. He's like late 20s. So, like, that's actually literally when guys' careers usually tail off. So, like, that's why they got nothing for him, because you're not going to get anything for a slap ball hitter that gets on base and is okay in the field, but not great in the field. and he doesn't hit the long ball, but he has a good average. Like that guy is from the 1990s. That's not the guy from the 2010s or 2020s that is going to.
Don't you need one guy that's kind of a setup guy in your lineup?
I like him. I'm not mad about it, right? But what I'm saying is,
I know you were a fan. Not everybody can be a home run hitter.
That's what I'm saying is like they don't have anyone on the roster that's going to get you a haul. So what fire sale are you doing? Like
get a bunch of mediocre prospects that are going to languish in the minors forever, and when they finally do get a sniff in the big leagues, you're going to say, well, they really weren't ready to come up here and start this whole ugly cycle all over again. I mean, how many years are you going to be entrenched in rebuilding if you continue to proceed in this fashion where you couldn't even build off last year's momentum?
Yeah, you were in the playoffs.
And you get rid of the one person that was probably the single greatest catalyst for those moves that were made at the trade deadline. And you hear nothing from Bruce Sherman. I was surprised Bendick said anything. He basically, with a very pale face and an unconvincing fashion, told everybody that this was the plan he was brought in to execute being the key word, and that he has the full backing of management to go ahead and proceed in this fashion.
That gives no one confidence, you idiot. None of us believe in management, you dumbass.
What management? Yeah, I mean, who the hell is management? They hired you clown.
Who gives a shit that they're backing you? That doesn't give us more confidence in them.
5 years from now, they may be in contention every year. It's very possible. It does seem unlikely, and we've been forced to believe. I mean, Michael Hill had us believing in both Sixto Sanchez and Jazz Chisholm as if these were the two biggest steals in the history of getting prospects in place and trading away name and established players. Although, how did they get Sixto? Was Sixto acquired as one of the prospects in the trade?
Real Muto trade.
Yeah, okay.
Another all-star that they traded for prospect that was supposed to be great.
Real Muno's been solid and a big catalyst for a Philadelphia team that's far exceeded anticipation.
He's literally their second best player. Literally, they've been in the World Series or flirted with the World Series the last 2 fucking years, and it's Harper and Real Muto. And they remember he was going to be a free agent, and they're like, no, we have to pay Real Muto. Yeah. I'm like, God damn it, Marlon. Like,
imagine too. I mean, you can't have a catcher. I mean, constantly on your roster. Your catcher is producing sub Mendoza line numbers with no power whatsoever.
It's just annoying. Like
you had that guy Stallings last year. He hit under 200, and now this guy, what is this? Fonts is his name, and the guy's hitting like 150 with no power stats. I mean, how can you have a power position like catcher, which you're capable of plugging somebody in there that can really, really be a Real Muto is all of that. And has been throughout his tenure with the Philadelphia Phillies, and he was that way with the Marlins too. And if you're going to get nothing back for him years later, and you're languishing in last place with a .220 winning percentage, get the fuck out of here.
Well, it doesn't help when they all shine. Ozuna has been a big part of the Braves, contending for World Series.
Having a great year. Yes.
And he was with the Cardinals before then. Gallen is literally contending for Cy fucking Youngs every year.
Yelich had won MVPs.
Is a key cog in a World Series contender. Yelich won an MVP, would have won back-to-back MVPs if not for getting hurt the last month of the year. And the Brewers every year are a playoff contender. The fucking Brewers, the actual small market team, not the Marlins, who are in a top 12 market. No, the Brewers are actually a small market team, but brought in Yelich and paid him whatever the fuck he wanted because he's helping them win every year. It's like, dude, your plan doesn't work. Just admit it doesn't work. You're just cheap.
Where's the Hebrew Hammer, Ryan Braun? He's out of baseball, I imagine.
He was old,
I mean, at the Hebrew Hammer, he was great, man, until he started doing juice and cursing out UPS guys. Poor suckers just trying to do their job, and he's getting them fired. All right, we got to run. A lot of fun being with you, man. I mean, it's just been unbelievable what's going on in the sporting world. I was kind of laid up for 2 days trying to rest this Achilles thing. Yeah. So I barely moved a muscle, and I took in all of his sporting activity over the weekend. It was incredible, an overdose of sports on TV. Just absolutely fantastic. Sarni must have been in heaven, except for the fact that he couldn't watch Nelly Corda win her 6th in a row. So we got the Preakness on tap this week. Mystic Dan is in. That was speculated upon on Friday. It turned out to be accurate. What the people on FanDuel TV were saying, they seemed to have it scoped out on the backstretch at Churchill that Mystic Dan was going to be making his way to Pimlico in Maryland, and the Preakness, that goes on Saturday. Kind of a different composition of the field, Lubie. You had some horses, I guess, that were in the Derby, but there will be many other new shooters in place. And then, of course, the PGA coming up this week. I think I go into the pool this week. Although it's going to be very, very difficult to gauge what's going to happen with the Live Tour players, including your man, Brooks Koepka, who was on fire on the Live Tour and is having a great season there in an impossible league or entity to follow whatsoever. Do they publish the results in Saudi Arabia? I mean, if you're in Riyadh, do you find the results of the Live Tour? Is that like the top thing in the agate? I never see the results. Do you? I just happened to see that Koepka had won 4 tournaments this year, including whatever the most recent one was, but they only play like every other leap year, these guys. Incredible. That's the best job in sports right now, isn't it? Worst job is the teaser horse at a stud farm. Best job, being a scrub on the Live Tour to the tune of about $50 million. Holy Weestays, and what are we talking about? All right, we got to run. We'll see you guys later on. Lubie, 1 o'clock from Resto's. Is that the name?
Renzo's Boca Raton.
Sounds great, man. Where is that, on Federal Highway?
I have no idea, but it looks amazing. It looks like, as Mayo would say, a red sauce place, but it's actually a little bit elevated, and they have very, very interesting dishes. I actually looking at the menu, and I'm like, holy shit.
Mayo's blanket condemnation of any Italian restaurant that isn't super expensive, I think. I think even he's gotten over that a little bit, right? Remember when he hated Anthony's Clam House because they had the logo that was similar to Anthony Bruno, who didn't mind it himself.
He didn't even care.
And here's a real reputable guy just going out there doing a great job. He has the kind of restaurant you would really want in your town, where extremely affordable, but sort of
good.
Upscale for what the prices you're paying. Certainly, the quality exceeds anything. Much like Tropical Acres, which is a Mayo favorite, and yet he condemned this place. It's just another red sauce place.
Oh, because I guess the actual clams themselves aren't anything great. So don't call yourself a clam house if your clams are going to be in. But it was probably to me.
How much different are clams, though? I mean, clams are clams.
Idea. Like it was it's called Clam House as an idea. That doesn't mean you can't get.
They have a great clam chowder there, by the way. They really do. But I'm a clam chowder. I'm kind of picky about my clam chowder, but they do a good job there. But so the whole idea that it's a red sauce place, I think, is an unfair blanket. Condemnation of these places that actually are out there doing a really good job. Like Olive Garden is a red sauce place, right?
Olive Garden,
I may be subterranean red sauce,
but a little different. But that's not these places who do a really good job. And
this sounds good. This sounds good. Boca Raton, you got to be on your toes. All right, Libby, you have a good one, and then I will see you later on tonight. We're going to start something new, which I think is going to be a hoot with Brandon Lang and Frank Miramonte called Bury Your Bookie. That's going to be on nofilter.net, Caffeine TV, although Andy's telling me he can't figure out, and I can't figure it out. We've been working with these guys for a year. You would log on live to see the show.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to watch, actually.
Can you actually
Caffeine TV
see it as it transpires? I don't think so.
Yes, you can, but you have to be a member, and you have to get a ticket, and you have to.
Oh, all of that shit. Yeah, that's
a weird-ass system for modern-day programming.
Right.
And we keep finding people who find weird ways to broadcast in a world where it's easy to broadcast.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I'm about to do one of those now at 10 o'clock. All right, and I believe that the only outlet where this thing is being carried on a consistent basis is this FM Spanish station in Orlando. Yeah, that's it.
I know it's on Twitter. You can watch it on Pete Shepard's Twitter and Angel's Twitter.
Who watches stuff on Twitter?
I've never watched anything. I didn't know you could watch stuff on Twitter.
Me either. I don't even have Twitter, so it's good. All right, we'll see you later. Have a good lunch there, Lubie, and say hello to the mailman. Where are you guys tomorrow? I'll try and make it.
Swan's. It's another one, like another one-off thing. Wednesday, we're at either tomorrow or Wednesday Even Keel, and that's where either you would come. Okay. If you can't, you can pop on. Because I'm in. Do a lot of the show, so it'll just be us. So you can pop on to join us.
Very good. Okay. All right. That's the agenda as we start out another week. All right. We'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time as we leave. You know that.
The time.
It's 9:06.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.